Hi, I'm Suzanne from TV Meg. How are you all doing today?
Doing
Great,
great.
thank you.
Great.
All right. I watched your movie yesterday. I enjoyed it. I didn't really I think I went to a debate thing once at another university, and that's the extent of it. So so how did this project come about for you, Charlie and Gabriel?
Sure. Gabe, you wanna?
Yeah, for sure. So, Charlie and I have made a number of movies together over the years. I think we've always been interested in essentially stories that showcase people rising to their potential, interesting sort of programs and interesting approaches to different things in culture and society. In this case, we had always been interested in debate. There had been a lot of different films over the years that have been done around sort of competitive teenage endeavors, everything from like spelling bee to science fair. And in this case, policy debate was something interesting because it sort of bridged a bunch of different interests of ours. And we ended up joining up with the Ornstein Foundation and making this film, which as you saw, really captures, I think, not just the competitive spirit of debate, but also the really transformative power of debate, where you really see kids gaining their voice and using debate to sort of articulate many of the narratives of their own lives. So we like that it sort of married sort of deeper themes, personal themes, with some of the competitive themes that you see in documentaries like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think you could make a fictional movie out of this. There's enough little stories with all the kids. I mean, being fictional, you could create some more. But I mean, I found that fascinating that it was like watching, a TV series almost about, what I mean?
Are you
I don't know
pitching
if you
us?
guys do that.
Should we pitch it somewhere? Yeah.
No, I think you should. I definitely think you should. When was the documentary shot?
We started filming in the summer of 2022, and then we filmed for 2 years. We started at summer camp in Washington, D.C., the free summers camp that the Ornstein Foundation sponsors and that Danielle participates, helps run. Danielle's a former Washington Urban Debate League debater, and then she went to Howard University, and then she came back, and she now helps run the Washington Urban Debate League, which we call Woodle. And so we started in the summer of 2022, and then we filmed for 2 years up through the summer camp of 2024.
Okay. Danielle, what did you think when you saw the finished product? Assuming you have.
Yes, absolutely. I was extremely proud of my students. I think that they managed to communicate policy debate in a really pleasant light, which, from my memory, like trying to participate in policy debate wasn't always that pleasant, but they handled their losses much more gracefully than I could have, and handled the cameras as well in the midst of trying to achieve all of these great accomplishments so well. So that was the main thing that I was thinking of how my students made me so proud.
That's great. And why is it called Immutable? Somebody give me a good answer on that one.
So there's a scene early in the film where Ayana, the mother to Parker and Sadiq, talks about the lives that these kids have, but that they're not immutable, that the lanes that they're in, things can be changed. And so the fact that their lives aren't immutable, that word stuck out to us because it, depending on how you read it, the kids aren't mutable either. In other words, like they can't be told to stop talking. They can't be told to stop using their voices to speak out for themselves and to help change their lives. So that's why in the title, the I am is crossed out. So it's immutable, but it's crossed out. So the idea is that the kids aren't, that they can change and that they're not mutable, that you can't stop them.
Okay. Now, did you take me through this? Did you film just a whole lot of footage and then decide which people to focus on, or did you decide ahead of time which people to focus on?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two answers to that. On the one hand, yeah, we honed in pretty quickly on who we wanted to follow, but then in the edit process, and it was a more than a year long process working with our editor, Nick Clark, to bring down the voluminous amount of content that we had and stories that we had into a sort of more disciplined, finished film. But we knew pretty early on that we wanted to use that first summer camp as almost like a casting call, like in a sense where we would meet a bunch of different kids and we'd put them on camera and then we'd figure out who we thought, would be good. And we would go back to the, over the next 2 years, follow them. So our approach really is, a verite sort of storytelling, right? We're flies on the wall. We're actually just letting the action happen in front of the camera. We do interviews along the way. But we were really just in those debate rounds, having all that, those words just fly over our head at such a rapid pace and not really always knowing exactly what we were capturing. And then I think what was amazing about the edit process is just the way that, a lot of the terminology and a lot of the arguments that in the room at the given time maybe go too fast, but ultimately we're able to shape it into a story. So yeah, we felt really great about the kids and the families that we were invested in over those 2 years, and then the edit process just helps it all shine and sort of come together and be interwoven into one story.
Great. Let me ask you something because since I'm not that familiar with debate, well, first of all, let me say I was so happy that you put so many words on the screen about what they're saying because I had the closed captioning, but the closed captioning on browsers is not always so accurate, and so I really enjoyed having that because my hearing and they were going so fast, like you said, so I really appreciated that. But have they always in debate talk so fast like that, or did that come along sometime in debate history?
Danielle,
Yeah,
want to take that one?
no worries. Yeah, in the beginning of debate, it really wasn't as fast. This is a technique that's really developed closer in the like 80s and 90s, when debate became more widespread, when we started to focus a little bit less on like handwriting information from newspapers and sort of like going to the library and getting the books, or like in the 90s when you would, do research on the computers. So that's when you start seeing people speed up. And now it's almost inaudible. So that I was very impressed what their editor did with being able to translate all of the words. That was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That was a good job. So would you let's see, why would people tell me why people should watch the film? Anybody?
So I'll start. I think, there's a lot of films out there, a lot of TV shows about kids, particularly kids from, the inner city who, change their lives over the course of a film or a TV show. And most often it's portrayed as kids who are using sports or the arts to do that. So, you have football teams, you got basketball teams. On Disney right now, there are 3 series about kids, a group of kids from Brooklyn who play football, a group of kids from Detroit who are on the choir team, a group of kids from Harlem who are ice skaters. And they're all great stories. They're great series. They're very uplifting, but it's all about kids using their bodies or their, some sort of physical talent to change their lives. And what we want to do is make a film about kids from the inner city who are using their minds and their intellects to change their life. And I think that's an important thing for us to do, particularly kids from Washington, D.C., because the portrayal of them on social media and in the media in general is that they're a bunch of car thieves and thugs. And Gabe and I are both from D.C., and so is Danielle. That's not who all the kids in D.C. are. And so we wanted to show a different light of the kids from DC, and also in general, kids from inner cities who can change their lives, and they don't have to be great athletes or great singers or great dancers to do it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting how, I mean, yeah, it was interesting because they're doing so many subjects about today's news and things that are going on in the world. And I mean, if you don't see kids all the time or high school kids, you forget how smart they can be. And so these kids not only learn how to debate and how to articulate what they're doing and all that, but they have to learn all this history and all these things going on. It's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And that's what I really hope that people get out of this film, like using it as inspiration that these are young debaters who can talk about divisive subjects, research heavy subjects. You should be able to too. And I really hope that that's what a lot of people receive from this film.
You were going to say something, Gabriel?
Yeah, I think, echoing what Danielle said, there's this kind of like dexterity and ability that these kids develop to be able to argue on two sides of a given topic. And it sort of like is this antidote for polarization, right? Because in a sense, they're able to view things from two sides and be empathetic, I think, around topics that they're researching. And of course, debate is like founded upon deep research, right? Like each pairing is coming up with an argument that over the course of an entire season they develop and then they hone and refine it as they take it out into the competitions. And so they're not coming up with a new topic every week. They're not getting all the same topic. There's a resolution at the beginning of the year. And then within that space of the resolution, and you can actually see them develop their own arguments. And we got lucky because the second year that we were filming was really a topic that was a resolution around income inequality. And the first year it was around NATO. So that was a little bit more out here for the kids, but
Sure.
still they're able to, to make really great and informed arguments, but it's like requires them to I think draw, mainly from research as opposed to personal narratives. Whereas in the income inequality one, it really touched on parts of their own lived experience. And we saw really beautiful things emerge from that, really innovative arguments that I think really touched on the challenges that the kids face. And you see that in the film. And I think the one other point that I just wanted to make, sort of to add on onto what Charlie was saying about why to see the film, is that it's really also super compelling to see the family dynamics in the film. And the ways that in particular we have some really fantastic mom characters who are, really in each their own way fighting for their kids to reach their potential. And a big part of what we wanted to do filming over the course of the year is to take that premise, of like, this idea of reaching potential or transformation and actually see it with our own eyes. And I think audiences, will go on that ride and actually see over the course of the film, really the power of debate and the power of these families, these kids, and, that have actually taken debate and used it as a tool to really enable themselves gain a whole other platform in life. So it's cool. And we were excited to I think, feature unexpectedly, I think, a much wider set of voices than where we started when we first signed up to do the camp.
And Danielle, you became a judge and then a coach. Can I ask you what your major was in Howard? And are you doing debate? Like, I don't know. I know nothing about coaching and that kind of thing. Are they paying you for it? You do it on the side, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out as a student, and then when I went to Howard University for film, I graduated, and then I became a judge, and then I actually started to work as a Woodle staff member. So I run all of our events and logistics, our tournaments when we go travel, things like that, full time.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
great. That's great. And these guys teach you something about film too. I hope that worked
yeah.
out. Synergy, I think they called it. All right. Well, anything else you want people to know about the film or debating?
I would say one, it's I've Gabe and I both worked on a lot of documentaries over the years. We made a lot of different films, and usually they're the documentaries that we've made and that you see are sort of ringing an alarm bell that there's something wrong in the world, and that they're kind of like. But this film is genuinely heartwarming. It's like it's a fun watch. It's inspirational. It's like it's heartwarming. I mean, so it's actually it's not depressing to watch the
Right.
film, but you walk
Very
away from it.
positive.
Yeah, you walk away from it and you feel inspired and you feel like there's hope. The other thing I would say is I was thinking about this the other day. One of the kids in our film, Manny, who goes to NYU, he talks about how because of debate, he's actually changed his mind about things that he used to feel really strongly about. And I can't remember the last time I talked to someone or saw someone online or someone on TV who said, I changed my mind. It never happens. And the fact that like we have character, like we follow kids who are like willing to say, yeah, I changed my mind. I learned something. I think it doesn't seem very important, but it's really novel these days, and I think significant.
Maybe people do change their mind, but they're not going around admitting it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a sort of a sign of weakness to change your mind these days.
Yeah. Well, thank you, all three of you, and I appreciate it. And the premiere is Friday, is that right? The
Yep,
6th?
Yeah,
Friday,
you'll be
March
able,
6th. Yeah.
yeah, you'll be able to really watch the film anywhere online as well as on PBS. And what that means is both on YouTube and the PBS app from March 6th. And it will continue. It's not like appointment TV. It's going to be streaming in a way that people can access it for, a good long time.
Yeah, it's not behind the paywall on the PBS app
Cool.
or on YouTube.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, and I wish you much success with it.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for your interest. Bye.
Thank you.
Danielle, stay on.